check out ESPN Films' newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 710 ESPN LA. That's 98.7 FM, New York City, and, of course, nationwide over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style. Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Jam-packed show coming your way on this day. Lots of stuff to get into. Magic Johnson came on First Take this morning, dropped some knowledge about the Lakers, and, of course, about Ezekiel Elliott. We'll be talking about that. Had an interesting conversation with him and Snoop Dogg on the show as well about Colin Kaepernick, which I will share with y'all later. My man Louis Riddick, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN, is coming on at the top of hour number 2. Looking forward to talking to him about what transpired last night. And speaking of last night, that would be one of the lead stories. We'll get to the Chargers, and why they can't win close games. Dodgers, why they can't win, period, a little bit later on in the show. But for the moment at hand, Adrian Peterson and the New Orleans Saints are making noise and making news. He rushed the ball 6 times for 18 yards yesterday. The New Orleans Saints lost predictably because their secondary stinks. Their defense stinks. And Sean Payton, a Super Bowl champion as a head coach, can't seem to give Drew Brees a defense to save his damn life. So we know that. But the reason why Adrian Peterson resonates is because, listen, it was the only offer out there for Adrian Peterson, to be fair to him. It wasn't that the Saints were the ideal landing spot for him. They're a throwing football team. They're not a running football team. They got Kamar. They got Mark Ingram. And they got Adrian Peterson now. It's a 3-headed monster at the running game. But if you're Sean Payton, that's not what you want to do. You got Drew Brees for a reason. If you got Drew Brees, you're going to throw the damn football. It's just going to be that way. And that's exactly what transpired last night. But it didn't work to the advantage of the New Orleans Saints because they lost yet again. 4 straight years they've missed the playoffs. And every time somebody calls up to ask me about the New Orleans Saints, I say they ain't going no damn place. They ain't going nowhere. Actually, they've missed the playoffs 3 times, 7-9 each year, all 3 years, 14, 15, and 16. And they started out 0-1 now. They lost 29-19 to a Minnesota team that looks like they could take the AFC North, if we're being quite honest. If Sam Bradford throws the ball the way that he did last night, completing 27 to 32 passes for 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, not a single interception, only sacked 1 time, finished the game with a 143 quarterback rating. I mean, listen, he picked the New Orleans Saints defense apart. Drew Brees wasn't bad, 27 to 37, 291 yards. He didn't throw an interception either. He was only sacked once as well. But the reality of the situation is he doesn't have much help. You got Kamara running for 18 yards. You got Adrian Peterson running for 18 yards. You got Mark Ingram running for 17 yards. Nobody averaged more than 3 yards a carry. Your receivers are guys like Kuhn and Ted Ginn and Fleener. That ain't working. It's just not. I mean, Brandon Cooks is gone. What did you get for him? And I'm looking at New Orleans, and I'm saying, look, you don't need Peterson because you ain't trying to run the football effectively. And Adrian Peterson had some kind of stare down with Sean Payton and was trying to deny that it was anything serious. Listen, it's none of our business. But since the damn thing was on camera, listen, we were born at night, not last night. We saw what was transpiring. We saw how Sean Payton looked back at him, said something, and walked away, reminding him, look, I'm the coach, and this is what we're going to do. My point is that I don't know how much longer Sean Payton deserves to be the coach. How many years is it going to take for you to find a defense? And if you're Adrian Peterson, the reason why this is so relevant to me is simple and plain. Adrian Peterson should be a New York Giant. Even though I'm not high on the Giants' offensive line, Adrian Peterson and his agent should be on the phone trying to get the Giants to get him from New Orleans. That's what they should be doing. Now, Adrian Peterson, from what I'm told, would have preferred to be with the Giants, but the Giants never called him. They didn't offer him a contract. They didn't offer him money. So he took the deal where the money was, which was with New Orleans. I don't understand why New Orleans did that, because it doesn't seem to make much sense to me. It really, really doesn't. You're not going to utilize them. You're not going to use them, but so much. Adrian Peterson should be trying to get to New York, because God knows the Giants need him. Giants need anything from their running back spot. What they need most of all is Odell Beckham Jr. back in the lineup. Absolutely, positively amazing how inept they looked offensively, how scared Eli Manning looked in throwing the football without Odell Beckham Jr. And it wasn't to say that Eli is scared because he's some kind of punk or something. It was saying that he was scared because nobody was open. And that's just one game. And one game does not make the career of Brandon Marshall or anybody else. But I did expect more from Sterling Shepard and Brandon Marshall, and I didn't see it. And as a result of that, Eli was scared to throw the ball because nobody was open. And that's where Odell Beckham Jr. comes in. You can't have a suspect offensive line with a suspect running game and then make your receiving game suspect as well because your stalwart wide receiver is out. You got to find a way to get this man the ball. You got to find a way to get this man back on the field, rather, and then get him the ball. And even when you're not getting him the ball, utilize him as a pristine decoy. That's what the Giants are going to need to do if they're going to win the NFC East, because they're already down 0-1 to the Dallas Cowboys. Which, by the way, I'm starting to hate the fact that divisional games, divisional rivalry games are played to open the season. Let them get their bearings under them first. Let them sit up there and get things together. And then after that, when they're flowing, then let them play one another. So a divisional game is what it's supposed to be, instead of one person getting the upside on somebody else because you know what, they weren't prepared. Preseason wasn't what it was supposed to be. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Magic Johnson, switching subjects. Magic Johnson was on First Take this morning. The great Irvin Magic Johnson, president of basketball operations for the Los Angeles Lakers. But he showed up for the hour, and in the first hour played the role of football analyst. Football analyst. When he did that, here's what I'm talking about. He was talking about Ezekiel Elliott. And rather than debate or talk back and forth with just me, Magic Johnson looked into the camera and had a message for Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys. This is from Magic Johnson to Ezekiel Elliott on First Take this morning on ESPN. Listen to this, y'all.
I'm going to step away from the NFL and Dallas Cowboys, and I'm going to look here. Zeke, you waited your whole life, man. Pop Warner, junior high football, high school football, on to college, to get to the NFL. The platform that you're on is the biggest in the NFL, that being the Dallas Cowboys. You've gotten away 5 times with things. Brother, you got to get your life together, man. You're going to ruin it not only for yourself, but for your family as well. And I'm disappointed in him that he hasn't realized that he has to change. You got to change. And look, you can have fun, but there's a line that you come up to, and then you can't cross that line. So I'm really going to watch to see, after whatever happens, if he plays the whole season, if he gets suspended, I'm going to watch to see if this young man changes, because it's really disappointing for him to be that good. And then you can't disrespect women. You just can't do that. And so I'm cheering for him. I like how he plays the game of football. But he has got to change his mindset on, hey, I'm this big star, and I can do whatever I want, because it's not like that. So I just had to say that.
That was Irvin Magic Johnson this morning on First Take with yours truly, along with my man Max Kellerman and Molly Curran. That was Earvin Magic Johnson a direct message to Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys. I'll tell you why what Earvin Magic Johnson said was so serious, so significant, and so profound, and why we all should be hoping and praying that Ezekiel Elliott listens and learns before it's too late. Stick around. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, you know, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Item to point to here, right back on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio's Cardinals running back David Johnson to undergo wrist surgery. Second opinion, he sought it. He got it. It was bad news. He'll undergo wrist surgery this week and is expected to be out 2 to 3 months, according to ESPN as well as NFL Network's Mike Garafolo. He's 25 years old, got a second opinion on Monday, which backed up the original diagnosis as the team feared. He'll go on injured reserve. He could come off IR after missing at least 8 weeks if rehab goes as planned. He injured his wrist on a reception in the Cardinals' 35-23 loss to Matt Stafford and the Detroit Lions. That's a huge loss for Arizona. And by the way, the star has really dimmed on Bruce Arians' status and stature, in case nobody's noticed. I remember a couple of years ago, we were talking about this guy might be, one of the top 2 coaches in the NFL, and, he's great, innovative offensively, this, that, and the third. Last year, they had injuries, but also Carson Palmer didn't have his greatest season. They already started off losing to the Lions this week. It's a few things. We don't talk about Bruce Arians with the same level of deference that we used to. Might not be his fault, but it is what it is. Anyway, getting back to Magic Johnson and what he had to say about Ezekiel Elliott. Listen, on First Take this morning, I had Magic Johnson and Snoop Dogg. 2 individuals, incredible cachet in their own genres. Magic, basketball in the world of business. Snoop Dogg, the rap game, hip-hop game. We all know that. And I just loved what they had to say, not just about Ezekiel Elliott, but just about being in the position that you're in. Because the reality is that, and I'm going to play this for you a little bit later on in the show, like when we got into the subject of Colin Kaepernick. It's about truly, truly understanding where you are. It's about truly, truly understanding that there's a game that always needs to be played in corporate America. And somehow, some way, you're going to have to play it. You ain't going to get to navigate your way around it without ever having to play it. And it's a reality that so many people don't face. When I think about Ezekiel Elliott, what I think about more than anything else is this. We don't know whether he's guilty or not because his representatives claim his innocence. The alleged victim in question, former girlfriend Tiffany Thompson, alleges it was, he violated her. Domestic violence. Now we're reading, you go online, you're reading reports, and you're hearing one of Ezekiel Elliott's former Cowboys teammates. Somehow, some way, there's some connection between her, Ezekiel Elliott, and the player. And anytime something like that it comes into the mix, suddenly Ezekiel Elliott's innocence does not look, let's just say it doesn't look so. Because if you want to sit up there and figure out instances when a man loses his damn mind, go look at some of the things being reported right now and get back to me. Hell no, I ain't excusing it. Please don't misconstrue that. But when he claims he's innocent through representatives, not through himself, it makes that look a little bit fishy once you read those reports. So we just got to understand what's going on. We got to understand the mindset of individuals. And Ezekiel Elliott, it appears, has been getting away with things for quite some time, which is why it was very, very important for somebody like Magic Johnson to say what he said. Because we're not even getting into the guilt or innocence because none of us were there. We weren't a fly on the wall. But what we're getting into is the fact that by mere virtue of the reality and fact that you found yourself in that situation where there are 5 separate incidences that took place over 3 definitive days, what's there to say? You did it to yourself. If you're Ezekiel Elliott, you did it to yourself. Because no matter how much you may be caught up in your feelings, you got a future to hold on to avoid from jeopardizing. And clearly he wasn't thinking. Whether guilty or not, he wasn't thinking by even having himself in that situation 5 separate times. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. To the phones we go. Let's go to Ray in Queens. You're live with Stephen A. Ray, talk to me. Good afternoon. Good morning.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for calling. What's up?
First, I just have 2 quick points I want to make. First of all, I think the Giants, and don't get me wrong, I know it's one game, but that offensive line is atrocious. The offense just looks so suspect. And if I was Odell Beckham, I would sit back.
It's been atrocious for quite some time, to be honest with you. Go ahead.
Yes, it has. So if I'm Odell, I sit back and say to them, are y'all seriously thinking about not wanting to pay me with the way that offense looked out there? You mean to tell me y'all couldn't muster up 10 points against that, 10 points? The defense did their job. The offense just looked horrible. So my thing to you, I just wanted to ask you, like you said earlier today, the Giants should be on the phone calling Adrian Peterson immediately. At least he could be some type of decoy.
Well, listen. I definitely think they should have him on the phone. He should get on the phone. His representation should get on the phone. Somebody should try to make a deal with the New York Giants. I got that for Adrian Peterson. Here's the flip side. What difference is he going to make if the offensive line stinks?
What I believe, Steve.
I mean, you look at Eric Flowers, Justin Pugh, Rich Berg, John Jerry, Bobby Hart. Who the hell are these people?
Oh, okay. You're right about that. But this is my quick point. I just think that a veteran like Adrian Peterson, I still think he has a little bit left in the tank. I just think if he see a big enough hole or a small enough, a crease.
Will you stop? Will you stop it? I just asked you a question. What difference does it make if you have that offensive line? You're talking about a big hole. Wait a minute. You're talking about a big hole, Ray. But the point is, do you think they're capable of providing a big hole?
No, they're not. I meant to just say a small crease, and I think he could do the rest. Just a little something. Steve.
Really?
He's better than what they got. He's definitely better than what they got.
Okay, all right. I give you that. I appreciate the call. He is better than what they have. I give you that. I can't knock that. He's better. I got to believe that Adrian Peterson is better than Paul Perkins. I got to believe that. I want to believe it. I really do. But the man rushed 7 times for 16 yards. Him and Orleans Darkwa combined for 30 yards on 10 rushes. I need more. I need more. By the way, Darkwa had a 12-yard run, His other 2 carries was for 2 yards. Just a thought. Al in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. Thanks for taking my call.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk about the Giants, man.
Man, close your window or stand still or do something. I'm hearing too much air. You got listeners nationwide listening to you. Suck it up, get focused, and speak clearly. Go ahead.
Is that better?
Yeah, stop moving. Go ahead.
All I wanted to say about the Giants and Eli Manning, I think the Giants need to really look into getting a new quarterback very, very soon. The league has changed. They got speed rushes. The offensive line sucks, and he can't move. It's like he's stuck in the mud out there.
So what do you think they need to do?
I think they need to start looking into finding a new quarterback very, very soon. I mean, he's still serviceable. He can still do his job. But
I don't want to use. I'm not going to disrespect Eli by saying serviceable, and here's why. If your offensive line is that awful, how the hell do we know what you can do? The fact of the matter is, they need to get him an offensive line. And the crime in all of this. Listen, I love Jerry Reese. Got a lot of respect for him. Here's my issue. It's been years since we've been talking about this offensive line for the New York Giants. Tony Romo was the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Back-to-back 8-8 seasons where they missed the playoffs, okay? And Tony Romo sat up there and said to Jerry Jones, could you please get me an offensive line? And within 2 years, Jerry got him an offensive line. Pittsburgh, Oakland. I mean, right now, you got the Giants and the Seattle Seahawks. They're very similar teams, except Russell Wilson is far more mobile than Eli Manning. That's it. When you look at the offensive lines, I mean, what excuse do you have for this? What excuse do you have other than you're not knowing what you're doing when it comes to drafting offensive linemen or signing them in free agency? Because it doesn't make any sense why it's taking this damn long to get Eli Manning a stout offensive line. It really doesn't.
Try to move the pocket or something. Give him a couple of extra seconds or something. This is ridiculous.
Something, man. Appreciate the call. Andrew in New Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Drew.
Stephen A., man, huge fan. I've been listening to you as long as I've known ESPN, man.
Thank you. Go ahead.
No, my question is simple, because I have one of my friends, he's a huge Saints fan for so long as I've known. How is it Sean Payton's fault if he doesn't have a defense? Because I see that you're making.
What do you mean, how's it his fault? He's the head coach. You've been the head coach. Hold it. Wait a minute. Sean Payton has been there how long? How the hell long has Sean Payton been there? How could you even ask me such a question? Sean Payton has been there for years. They won a Super Bowl championship. You get to pick the defensive coordinator. We know because he keeps firing them. Sean Payton has been there since 2006. It's 11 years. They missed the playoffs the last 3 years. They made the playoffs once in the last 5 years. This man continuously fields a team where there is no defense. You're the head coach. What are you talking about? It's your responsibility. What?
Could I have a quick question on that?
Go ahead.
Just so for you to inform me, because I don't even know. He can, as a head coach and more of an offensive coordinator, he literally can he has a say on the defensive end. He has a say
as the head coach, he is the one that hires the defensive coordinator. As the head coach, the defensive coordinator, and whatever he wants to do, gets the approval of Sean Payton. The buck stops with him. We're not talking about one game where you left it up to the defensive coordinator and he's doing play calling for you and things of that nature. We're talking years with Drew Brees as your quarterback. And you can't figure out how to buffet his defense? The buck stops with him.
I know he's got a ring, man, but that guy is so good for him to just not even be competing. He's not competing.
Wasting away the best years of Drew Brees' career, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. And it's wasting away because Sean Payton can't find him a defense. It's similar to what Don Shula did to Dan Marino, except at least Sean Payton got a Super Bowl. Dan Marino, Don Shula never got him a Super Bowl. That's what this is. Appreciate the call. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. More of your calls. More NFL stuff to get into in a minute. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Before I get back to the calls right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, let me transition to college football because Brian Kelly, well, Nick Saban made news too, calling out some reporter. But you know, that's typical. Maybe it's typical to Brian Kelly for Notre Dame to some degree as well. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. But after losing 20-19 to 15th-ranked Georgia on Saturday, Brian Kelly, the coach for Notre Dame, was being asked a question by a female reporter. Listen to this exchange that is circulating throughout social media.
Obviously, you lost at the very end, kind of like last year, 7 of 8 losses. How do you
what's the question?
I'm getting to it.
Get to the question.
How do you keep this from snowballing?
It's not going to snowball. Next question.
Well, what exactly will be different, I guess?
There's nothing different. I go to work every day, and I coach my football team.
Okay.
Is that good enough for you?
Yes, I was just asking about how it was different from last year's losing by one possession. And
Okay.
tonight was also like that, so I was just wondering.
Losing by one possession?
Yes.
No, it was 1 point.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Now, obviously, to some people, they don't like the fact that Brian Kelly spoke to a reporter like that, particularly a female reporter. Paul Feinbaum's focus, our very own Paul Feinbaum, college football analyst extraordinaire, mouth of the South, SEC, even though I call him Mr. Football because he knows college and pros. He took Brian Kelly to task. Not because the reporter was a female, just because it was Brian Kelly. Listen to Paul Feinbaum and what he had to say.
You spend the entire offseason trying to clean up the mess, and then you give it right back. All he has to do is just be patient and show that he is in command. Instead, he reverted to form. He came off as the same jerk that he's been for most of his tenure. He comes off arrogant. He comes off like he has no regard, just like last year when he threw his players under the bus, when he threw his assistants under the bus. This was supposed to be a new beginning, guys, and that's all we're talking about. Instead of saying Notre Dame played a pretty good game, they lost by 1 point, big deal. Brian Kelly, to me, is a jerk. He comes off as a punk, and I think he is closer to the end than he's ever been, and that is going to help expedite it.
Now let me say this. Paul Feinbaum knows a hell of a lot more about college football than me. Paul Feinbaum has every right to say what he said. Paul Feinbaum has more intimate knowledge of who Brian Kelly is, not just as a football coach, but as also a man, than I would have. Absolutely, positively true. My only question to Paul would be this. Would you have said that about Brian Kelly if he had spoken to a male reporter that way? If the answer is yes, I got nothing to say. If the answer is no, we got an issue, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a pugilistic sport or anything like that. I got news for you. Most women are smarter than most men. So this thing about, equal playing field or whatever the case may be, as far as I'm concerned, if it's unequal, it's usually because of the coach, because you got a lot of females out there that are a hell of a lot smarter than us. But I don't want to hear that this is a national story and it's disgraceful for Brian Kelly because he was talking to a female reporter that way when, damn it, he's done it to men. Nick Saban just did it to a reporter the other day. Matter of fact, he does it monthly. Brian Kelly doesn't have Nick Saban's cachet. Didn't walk into this season with a 119-19 record with 4 national titles like Nick Saban did. So he doesn't have the cachet. He was 4-8 last year. Year before he was 10-3 before losing in the Fiesta Bowl. 8-5 before that, winning the Music City Bowl. 9-4 before that, winning the Pinstripe Bowl. 12-1 before that, losing the national championship game to Alabama. So last year was a horrible year for Notre Dame. Overall, they have not met expectations under Brian Kelly because it's Notre Dame and more is required. Fair enough. But don't go telling me that this is supposed to be news. When he got on a woman because she's a woman. No. That's how he speaks to reporters sometimes. And if he felt it was an idiotic question, or he felt that he was being baited because she brought up how they had lost so many games last year, and he instantly got annoyed because of that, get over it. That's what happens with coaches sometimes. That's what they do. I've had coaches cuss me out, players cuss me out. I had the damn commissioner go off on me one time. I can't repeat to you over FCC airwaves what Commissioner Stern, how he once got on me. And I love him. But damn it, I didn't love him that day, and he damn sure didn't love me. It happens. So I don't want to hear anything about the gender stuff. Not on this one. What you saw from Brian Kelly, to my understanding, he has done that to reporters before. Let's not make it national news because she's a female. Because when you do that, you discredit and hurt the female because you're saying that they can't be subjected to what the men are subjected to as journalists. And that simply cannot be the case. The same has to be applicable to all of us in order to warrant and garner the same level of respect. If he did it to her and he never did it to the men, I got that. But if Brian Kelly is known as being a punk and a jerk, as Paul Feinbaum called them, and he's done this to men before, then the issue ain't the fact that he was talking to a female reporter. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Back with your calls to close out hour number 1 in a minute. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Darren in Indy. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Darren? Good afternoon. How are you?
Stephen A., man. Thanks for taking my call here.
Go ahead.
I just want to talk real quick about some rookie running backs looking good week 1. So
how about Dalvin Cook? Do we need to go there?
Man, Dalvin Cook, Fournette, Kareem Hunt. Who do you see having the better year all in all with the situation?
I'm not going to go Kareem Hunt. He was special. He was all-purpose. You could put him in there, by the way, because I think Andy Reid and his brilliance in offensive play calling could help Kareem Hunt immensely. No doubt about that. But I'm also going to look at Dalvin Cook because the brother looked special last night. It was against New Orleans defense. I'll give you that. But this dude is just special. He's all purpose. And I think that even though they've got Diggs and some other weapons, I could see Minnesota utilizing him heavily out of the backfield as a pass catcher, not just a runner. The guy that really stands out in my mind as well is Christian McCaffrey. I think Dalvin Cook, those two stand out in my mind significantly. Fournette, not so much. I didn't like what I saw from Fournette. Here's why. I know he had 100 yards rushing. I know he had about 24 carries. I can see Jacksonville running him into the ground because they don't want Blake Bortles to throw the football, but so much. And so I've got some serious questions about the staying power of Leonard Fournette and how they may run him into the ground. That is a concern of mine.
Okay, well, hey, man, you got my question. Only other thing is Triple G all day.
Yeah, I got you. I'm going with him in the 11th round. But Canelo Alvarez, don't sleep on him, bro. Don't underestimate that, brother. I'm telling you that right now. Paul in Long Island, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., I have Triple G, maybe 7th, 8th round. Canelo was very front foot heavy. He puts all his weight in his front foot. When he punches, he moves his upper body. But that's about it.
But hold on, wait a minute, Paul. I think you're right. But I think that's because everybody he's fought, he was stalking. Whereas with Canelo, or with Triple G rather, he's clearly going to have to back up and look to go the counter-punch route. You do understand that?
Yeah, but Canelo fights small guys, and Triple G is just a bigger, stronger, heavier-handed guy.
But true, absolutely true. I shook their hands and could tell you that. I mean, I shook Triple G hands, my hands almost dropped. I shook Canelo Alvarez's hands. It looked like he just came from having a pedicure or a manicure done. You understand? So I get it. But the flip side to it is that he is the better boxer. He is faster. And Triple G's defense is suspect. We got to look at all of that, too.
Question. Just not to change, doesn't change the subject quick. I know you're in a rush.
Hurry up. Go ahead.
As far as last week with Michael Bennett, right? And he said he was being racially profiled. Was he the only person the police officers saw?
We don't know the answer. We don't know.
Okay.
We have no clue. All right? Thanks a lot for the call. I appreciate it. Kevin in New Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Kev?
Stephen A., good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Real quick, I didn't want to talk about sports. I just want to personally thank you just for being on the radio, Stephen A. Smith. Your energy, the way you carry yourself, you're so passionate about what you do and what you say, and you stand behind it. And that's all I wanted to say. You have a great day.
You.
Good talking to you.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Devo in Dallas, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, man?
What's up, Stephen A? Devo's still a man, number one, still a fan, sir. I hope my city treated you nice, but real
They
quick,
did. Dallas fans are great, man. I mean, I mess with them, but it's all fun. Y'all know that.
I
just have
know
fun
it.
with
I had
Cowboy
to
fans.
convince
But
my
it's
wife
a lot
to
of
that,
fun.
man, because she's on you. I'm glad she wasn't off work to come and get you, man. I was going to have to tell you to watch your back.
That's right. Well, listen, I was gonna have to depend on you because I ain't gonna go against the wife now. Always choose the wife
agree.
because you always want a happy life, bro. I know.
Hey,
go ahead, real quick.
The dog won't even bark right when she's unhappy.
Go ahead, man. Real quick. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. On the Giants, man, a lot of callers are calling in not to discredit them, but I don't think they understand the game. They can talk about Eli. They can talk about getting Adrian Peterson or Odell Beckham, who didn't play. But until their line is addressed, there is nothing. I think Odell Beckham may have made a little difference, but all in all, if you don't have a quarterback that can get the ball to the receivers, none of that matters at all.
Well, I got
Sean Payton, about the caller that said that, didn't know Sean Payton had that right to hire and fire their coordinators and whatnot. A team is only as good as his backups, and it goes the same with the coach.
There
a
we
coach
go.
is only as good as his assistants.
Devo, I gotta go,
coordinators,
man.
assistant coaches, so forth and so on.
I got you. I appreciate the call, Devo. But the bottom line is the buck stops with Sean Payton. He's the head coach. He hires the defensive coordinator. Needs to do something with that as it pertains to the Giants' offensive line. I will tell you this: if Odell Beckham Jr. was out there, you wouldn't have been able to crowd the box as much as you did. Something to consider. Louis Riddick up next to start off hour number 2 with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Check out ESPN Films' newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. This is Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. As promised, my next guest, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN, the one and only Louis Riddick is on the line with us right now. What's going on, man? How are you?
Appreciate you, Stephen Smith. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Always great to talk to you. Let's get right into the Monday Night Football games we saw last night. First things first, we saw Minnesota handle their business against New Orleans. I don't know what storyline to peel from this, Lewis. Is it Sean Payton still not giving Drew Brees a defense? Is it Minnesota and Dalvin Cook and the fact that clearly a new era has arrived because this brother can play? Is it Sam Bradford looking like the second coming of Joe Montana for a night? Or is it Adrian Peterson getting into it with Sean Payton and trying to hide it? What did you peel from last night's game?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of all that. I'll start with Adrian Peterson. I think for the Saints, he's a bad signing. Okay, they don't really need that type of runner. They've got Mark Ingram, and they got Alvin Kamara to be the third down back and a guy who clearly Sean likes. I don't understand what the philosophical reason was for signing Adrian, although he is obviously a generational back, a guy who's going to go down as one of the best ever to play the game, but they don't really need him. So it'll be interesting to see how they wind up handling that situation as it goes along here. As far as the defensive side of the football for the Saints, it's the same old story, man. It's the same old story. I'm sitting here, as a matter of fact, looking at it right now, looking at their secondary, all those young guys that they have invested high draft picks in to play in the secondary to kind of help out what is an anemic pass rush. Because one of the ways you help out an anemic pass rush is to get better covered players. Well, they look confused. They look like they haven't been taught basic route concepts as far as how to pattern match them and take away some of these big explosive plays. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings had like 9 plus 20-yard throws last night. 9? How do you give up 9? They didn't have that many all last year, and they gave up that many in one game. I mean, these kids are running around looking like they're lost and embarrassing themselves, and that falls on the coaching staff. Now, I know it's one game. I know it's the first game of the year, and there's a lot of unknowns. But they have to be better than that. They have to get their act together on that side of the football because it's been too long, way too long now, that they have looked like this on defense. Way too long.
And Lewis, that's where I'm going with Sean Payton. I know a Super Bowl championship buys you cachet. I get that. But I'm going to tell you why I think that the window should have closed already when it comes to Sean Payton. Because you have Drew Brees. You have one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. It'd be one thing if you got a Super Bowl championship and you don't have him. But to have him and to just be incapable of giving this guy a defense, this is going on like 4 or 5 years now, Lewis.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's always a combination of things, Stephen A. It's always a combination of marrying your personnel with your scheme, a combination of developing your personnel within your scheme, and a combination of on game day when the lights are on, making sure that you're putting your players in the best position to succeed when it's time for them to go ahead and perform. And they're clearly not living up to the bill. Living up to that responsibility as an organization over and over and over again, man. And it's getting old to watch. I get more frustrated watching this secondary probably than any other secondary in the NFL because there's some fine players, man, that are great athletes, but they just look pathetic. Now, if you move it over to the offensive side of the ball for the Vikings, the Vikings have made some improvements on this offensive line. They can pass protect better. Sam was kept clean last night, and when Sam is clean, Sam's a good quarterback. Sam can throw it at all 3 levels of the football field and distribute the football as good as anybody. But I think you got to keep in context who they were going against last night. They're not going to have those kind of passing lanes in the future. Every secondary is not going to look that bad. Every pass rush is not going to be that ineffective. So the jury's still out on the Vikings. The jury's not out on Dalvin Cook. He's legit. He's for real. He's the real deal. The kid's got speed. He's got power. He's got instincts. He can catch the ball. And he'll hang in there in pass protection, and he will get better at that. So there's no worries with him. And on the defensive side of the ball, look, they have got some absolute Dobermans on defense that can rush the passer and make life miserable for your quarterback. And when you flip it back over to the Saints, Drew Brees, it's a shame that at this time in his career, his offensive line's beat up. He's losing wide receiver weapons. The running game right now, although it looks good on paper, is kind of in a state of flux because they have kind of comprised the running back room a little bit messed up with the addition of AD, and that's not any disrespect to him. But the Saints are a team right now that looks like a mess to me. The Vikings, a lot to be optimistic about, but you got to keep it in context as far as who they were playing, especially their offense versus the Saints defense.
Real quick, Lewis, do you see Adrian Peterson there for long? Do you see Drew Brees there past this year in New Orleans?
Well, it's hard to see Drew Brees in any other team and not finish his career in New Orleans. But hey, Joe Montana finished his career elsewhere, so if he can do it, anyone can finish his career elsewhere. But they better figure it out because Drew's going to take a beating this year. I'm afraid he's going to take an absolute beating. And as far as Adrian Peterson is concerned, if I'm the Saints, I would kind of wind up maybe just biting the bullet on that one and admitting that this was a bad signing just from a team-building perspective and seeing what I could do as far as getting him somewhere else where maybe his skills are more needed and he could be utilized better.
Let's transfer to the AFC Conference. We're talking to Louis Riddick right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What the hell is wrong with the Chargers? Why can't they win close games, especially with Phillip Rivers as your quarterback? What is the problem with this team?
Yeah, man.
The Los Angeles Chargers.
It's amazing because I'll tell you what. If it isn't for the fact that once they go to kick the field goal to tie the game the second time, 21 people on that football field are doing what they're supposed to do. One guy in PAT field goal protection doesn't execute his assignment properly, allows penetration, they get it blocked, and this is the discussion we're having, right? The discussion is the Chargers don't know how to win close games, but it's one guy. It's one guy who doesn't block his assignment and close his gap ball properly and gets the kick blocked. It's not the kicker's fault. It's not the holder's fault. It's not Anthony Lynn's fault. It's not Phillip Rivers' fault. It's not Travis Benjamin, who played his behind off. I mean, all these guys, Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa. Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa are two of the finest players in this league, period. Anthony Lynn's going to get that right. There's a lot of good teachable moments, man, from last night that he'll be able to tell his football team that, hey, look, put this out of your mind. We're going to win some games here. We got 15 more to go. We're going to win plenty of them. But, man, they got to stop doing it. It's just those kinds of things that are the difference between Stephen A. being 6-10 versus 10-6, 7-9 versus 9-7, sitting at home in January versus participating in January. That's what makes the difference.
Let's stay in L.A. but transfer for the other team in the market, the Los Angeles Rams. I'd love to give them credit, Lewis, for their performance, beating up on the Colts 46-9 on Sunday. But I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback worse than Scott Tolzien looked. this past Sunday.
You're right.
It was one of the most pathetic performances I've ever seen. I literally feel he single-handedly demoralized the entire Indianapolis Colts squad, who's far better than what I think the outcome showed this past Sunday. But because the quarterback position is so atrocious, that's what you ended up having. What am I to make of that game, and what am I to make of what I saw from the Rams since they were going up against these Indianapolis Colts?
Yeah, starting with the Colts. Look, Tolzien is not good enough. They knew better than to think that he could hold down the fort, given all the other deficiencies they have on the offensive side of the ball and on that team as a whole. So that's bad planning by the hierarchy of the Colts, given what they also knew about Andrew Luck. Being optimistic about him playing at the beginning of the year obviously came back to bite them, and then not having that football team be strong enough throughout the rest of the 52-man roster, minus Luck, in order to compensate for him. That's on them, too. Tolzien is who he is. Now they're going to put Jacoby Brissett in there, who isn't going to do any better. He's only been there a couple of weeks, and they're still deficient. The deficiencies remain the same. On the defensive side is where this is a team that all along, ever since Andrew has been there, it's always about the offensive line being pathetic, about them not being able to run the ball, not willing to run the ball. They're going to get Andrew killed, and all that's true. But Chuck Pagano is a defensive specialist. I know that he didn't get along with Ryan Grigson, and they weren't on the same page philosophically and had a lot of issues building the football team. I get that. But this defense, same old story in that game. And then that's what comes. Then when you kind of flip it over and look at the Rams, I'm a Jared Goff believer. I've been one of the few people who last year didn't say that this kid needed to go ahead and just retire from football because he couldn't play in the NFL and his skills were gross. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people who believe that last year working with Jeff Fisher and working with that archaic, ridiculous offense he was working with and no weapons, anyone would have looked terrible in that offense. And that this year, given some weapons, given some new offensive line protection and a new coach who understands how to utilize this kid, he would look better. And he did. Yes, he benefited from a Colts defense that was missing its best cover player in Vontae Davis, can't rush the passer, and haven't been able to play consistent championship-level defense for years anyway. So I'm happy for Goff. I'm taking the positive approach and saying I think the Rams are going to surprise some people this year. I think Goff's going to surprise everybody. I think the Colts are in big, big, big trouble for more reasons than just Scott Tolzien.
Louis Riddick right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Just a couple of more questions. Real quick, Louis. First of all, the Giants. Nothing offensively without Odell Beckham Jr. Has he elevated has his stock been elevated essentially by default because of how they looked without him?
I don't think there's any question about that. And it's not like we had any doubt about what Odell means to the football team and what place he holds in the NFL overall as far as being an explosive generational playmaker. But, man, it's amazing to see Eli Manning have absolutely zero confidence in pushing the ball down the field and making anticipatory throws before receivers come out of their breaks without him being on the field. And he doesn't have time to do that. He can't be pulling the ball down and double pumping, triple clutching the football behind an offensive line that sometimes, Stephen, I'll tell you what, you could put 5 blocking dummies out there, especially at right guard and right tackle, and he'd have a better shot at staying upright in the pocket than he does with the guys who are playing right now. It gets that bad. They know that he is going to need to be paid and paid at a very high rate. He's going to have to eclipse Antonio Brown's average per year of $17 million if you want to really do right by him. But because of the fact that he's still under contract for 2 more years, they have control of him for 2 more years, given his 5th-year option, that they don't have to. I mean, I've always said this, and I say the same thing about Aaron Donald out there in L.A. It's not about what you can do, it's what you should do. What the Rams can do and what they should do are 2 different things with Aaron Donald. What the Giants can do and what they should do for Odell Beckham Jr., it's the same situation. And what they better do is get him healthy, number one, and get him on the football field, and then compensate him, because as the way this team is constructed presently, with no running game, no pounder that can put the ball north and south, no offensive lineman who can consistently move people off the ball, you better keep Odell Beckham healthy, and you better keep him happy.
I know this much. Listen, they got to take care of him. There's no question about it, because if you don't take care of him, it looks like the whole team's going to fall apart, because Brandon Marshall certainly seems to have lost a step, even though it's just one game. I don't want to be too critical of him. Before I let you get on out of here, just in 30 seconds or less, surprise team of the weekend in your mind is who?
Oh, boy. The surprise team, you know what? I'm not saying this in a good way either. I'm going to say this in a way that I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little disappointed. Seattle surprised me that the offensive line looked that inept again. That's the same story as 2016 again, where early in the year, Russell dropped back. Russell has to look at the rush. Russell looks like he's playing in his backyard on Thanksgiving Day, just running around trying to make plays, like he's throwing them up in the dirt. That's so disconcerting to me, given how much the defense right now, with the addition of Sheldon Richardson and Earl Thomas coming back healthy, these guys look like preseason they were poised to make another run, to make a run at the NFC title and then make a run in the Super Bowl. But if that offensive line is going to look that bad against the Packers defense, and Mike Daniels is a bad dude who can wreck your offense. But the Packers, we're going to see what the Packers really are this week when they play the Falcons defensively. Seattle better get it going, man. That surprised me that offensively they looked that inept on the offensive line. That was disappointing.
Not only that, because you got Russell Wilson. That's your franchise player. You got to make sure that you take care of him. We got to get out of here, Lewis. Appreciate you, man. And don't say I don't love you. I didn't ask you about the Jets. I spared you that. See how I looked out for you?
I appreciate you, bro.
Take it easy, my man. Thanks so much. Keep up the great work. The one and only right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. 866-SAY-ESPN. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show in a minute.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors.
Mm-hmm.
And shades.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let's go to Nathan in Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. How's it going, man?
I'm good. Talk to me. What's up?
Hey, brother. So I called you a few weeks ago talking about Aaron Donald, the holdout.
Yes,
and you told me that the problem with the Rams was their offense, right? And I just want to say, before you call me crazy, I'm optimistic, Stephen A. I'm really optimistic about it.
Okay. So let me get this straight. Let me ask you a question. Yeah. Let me guess. You have the temerity, the unmitigated gall to call up here because of 46 points that you scored this Sunday, because it was against the Indianapolis Colts. Is that what you're about to do?
The factors, too. Like, I want to talk about, it's not just what the Rams did, it's about what happened in the division. Davey Johnson out for, I think, 12?
No. Stop right there. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. When you called here, David Johnson wasn't hurt. You don't get to do that. You don't get to sit up there and news comes down today that David Johnson gets here and talk about, but look at what the division is. No, you called last week before a game was played and strictly on personnel alone made your prognostication. Am I right?
No. Last time I called, I didn't make any predictions.
What did you say? I'm not talking about a prediction in terms of record. I'm talking about what you said to me about LA's offense.
All right. So I didn't really talk much about the offense. I just talked about the defense. You might have me confused with somebody else, but this time I do want to talk about the offense and talk about how, Jared Goff didn't look horrible, and that was my biggest fear going into the season.
Against the Colts, man.
But Stephen A., check this out, though. Good teams, when they face bad competition, what the parameter is, if they dominate, that's a good sign. And all I'm saying is that I like
Tozine threw 2 pick sixes. I mean, they went in a hole before they passed gas.
That's
what are you talking about?
They dominated them, Stephen A., and that's what you're supposed to do. That's what good teams do to bad teams. They dominate them.
All right. And Bye, man. Call me back next week. Call me back after week 2. Call me back when they play a real football team. Okay? Spare me with your nonsense. CB in Pasadena, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead. CB, are you there? CB in Pasadena. Chris in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Chris? Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A., how's it going? Long time no talk.
Go ahead, my man.
Real quick question about the NBA. I know we're veering in a different direction. The NBA is not here yet, but I have a question since you got a chance to sit down with Magic today. With Russell Westbrook not yet having signed the extension in OKC, do you believe Sam Presti allows him to walk like Kevin Durant did a year ago? Or do you think he puts him on the trading block? And if so, do you think the Lakers make a concerted effort to go after him, giving up any?
Talk about Russell Westbrook.
Available.
Talk about
Yes,
Russell
sir.
Westbrook.
Westbrook.
All
Yes,
of
sir.
this may be a moot point. Russell Westbrook has until the start of the season to sign the 5-year, $217 million extension, Supermax extension that is on the table for him. If he does not sign it, I personally believe that Sam Presti is going to have no choice but to try and trade him, because what you don't want if you're Sam Presti, you can't let Kevin Durant and James Harden walk out the door for nothing. You can't let that happen. He's going to have no choice. But they are hoping and praying that Russell Westbrook signs that contract extension.
Yes, sir. Okay, and if he doesn't sign that, Stephen A., do the Lakers have enough to offer to go after Westbrook? Do we think we have enough to offer?
No, you don't.
We don't.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You don't have enough. You absolutely positively do not have enough. No way. What do the Lakers have? Answer your own question, Chris. What would you take if you were Sam Presti? If you were Sam Presti and you had Russell Westbrook, what could the Lakers possibly offer you?
Brandon Ingram and Lonzo, but I'm not a huge fan of neither of them, honestly.
There we go. Then that means nothing. Then that means nothing. Wow. And by the way, let's be real. Lonzo Ball can pass the rock. Lonzo Ball is a special cerebral basketball talent. He's no scrub. But does he really matter as much as he does if he were not in L.A.?
No, he does not.
You really think he matters as if he's in Oklahoma City?
No, sir.
No, he doesn't. He matters because he's in L.A. And you're talking about Showtime returning to L.A. Had Magic Johnson on First Take this morning. He talked about how they sold out the Summer League for the first time ever. How the Lakers were a box office attraction. And how the Laker fans drove up to Vegas to watch this brother play in the Summer League. Talked about all of that. Is that happening if he's in Oklahoma City?
I don't believe it does.
It's not happening. So guess what? He ain't worth Russell Westbrook. Plain and simple. Appreciate the call, Chris. Thank you. Jesse in Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., how you doing, sir? First time caller. It's my birthday today, so I'm glad to be talking.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Listen, big Giants fan, how can we get better? I know the line is not well right now. How can we get better throughout the season? Well, Odell's getting back. How can we get the ball to him, even though we have no protection? So,
well, listen. You got to remember something.
Yeah.
They loaded the box. They're not going to do that with Odell Beckham Jr. on the field, because him on the field, he's going to require double coverage. Not to mention the fact that's going to free up Brandon Marshall and Sterling Shepard, at least one or the other, in terms of single coverage. As a result, you ain't going to be able to stack the line of scrimmage and get to the quarterback the way that you could without him on the field. That's why it works.
Would that improve our running game, you think?
Well, it won't improve your running game, but it'll improve a second or two of Eli Manning's ability to pass the ball. Having time.
I mean, yeah, you're right. And what about Eli Manning? How are the Giants looking, next year? Are they going to start looking to build for the future? Or is Eli Manning another 3 or 4 years, with the Giants? What do you think about us improving? Are they going to invest in our O-line?
Well, listen. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is this. We've been asking the Giants to get an offensive line for years. I don't know half these dudes on the offensive line, for crying out loud. They're not that impressive. We all know it. And until they get Eli Manning and a better offensive line, he's going to be compromised in terms of his ability to pass the football, and they're not going to be able to run the football. And by the way, let's not hold Eli Manning accountable, because when protected, he has proven time and again that he can step up in big situations and get it done. So this is not on him. This is on upper management, Jerry Reese, getting this man an offensive line. Gotta go. Zeke in Arkansas, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Yeah, good day, Stephen, man. First thing, Isaiah Thomas is the best point guard in NBA history, the real Isaiah Thomas. Secondly, the Pittsburgh Steelers, how are they ranked number 1 in the power rankings when you had Green Bay beating Seattle?
I didn't know they were ranked number 1 in the power rankings, and they damn sure don't deserve to be after struggling to beat Cleveland. So I don't know if that's accurate that they're ranked number 1 in the power rankings. I don't believe that for 1 second. I think that's an error, and it should be corrected quick, fast, and in a hurry. Thank you so much. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Back with your calls in a minute. Plus, I'm going to play Magic Johnson and Snoop Dogg live on First Take this morning talking about Colin Kaepernick. I think you all should hear what they had to say. Stick around. This is Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Back to the phones we go at 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Angel in Coney Island, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up?
Stephen A., first of all, my condolences about your mom.
Thank you, man.
Listen, about Zeke Elliott. This young man needs to realize he has a mother. I don't know if he has sisters, but quite possibly one day he's going to have daughters. He can't go around pulling young girls' tops down, man. Even if they're intoxicated, he can't be doing that. He has to show more respect for their young ladies.
I agree. Nothing else needs to be said, Angel. You're absolutely positively on the money. You know? Absolutely. And I hope that Ezekiel Elliott gets the message. I've spoken about that. Don't need to say much more after that. But anyway, before I get back to the calls, I wanted y'all to listen to something that took place this morning on First Take, every weekday morning on ESPN. First Take with myself, Max Kellerman, Molly Curran, Magic Johnson, and Snoop Dogg in studio together for a particular segment involving Colin Kaepernick. And I wanted you to listen to what Magic Johnson and Snoop Dogg had to say about that whole situation involving Colin Kaepernick. Listen to this.
I think that, first of all, we got to applaud him for, bringing up things that's been happening in urban America for a long time in terms of our school system. We got bad books that are torn. We don't have computers. People are being discriminated against. So Colin, he stood up and his voice was for the voiceless, right? For those who nobody will listen to, those people. So he was speaking for those people. Now, it's very unfortunate because every owner and every team says, oh, I want to win the Super Bowl. Really? This man is out of football and you're telling us that you want to win? Look, he said what he said. He stood by it, and he put his money behind his words.
Yeah.
See, and that's what I like about Colin as well. He not only spoke the words, but he put his money where his mouth is. And then, last but not least, he already said, hey, that was last year. Now I'm ready to move forward. And teams should say, okay, I'm going to take a chance on him because I'm going to tell you something about sports fans. Once he's on that field and he throws that first touchdown,
we love him.
It's over. You just said it. You just said it. And so if you can help a team win, fans would jump on board.
And what did he do so bad?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see players in the league that I ain't going to say what they did. Y'all know what they did.
Right.
But it wasn't worse than what he did.
The capital crimes.
He peacefully protested. The word is peacefully.
Yes.
I've seen some protests in Charlottesville that wasn't peaceful. Mm-hmm. So it's like, show the benefits of what he did on the positive side, which he brought some awareness to something that's actually happening as we speak.
For me, understanding that right before I came in, Larry Bird came in, they said it was a black league and none of the fans wanted to come and watch the NBA teams play. And, we were able to change that. Now, I understood what I had to do as a player, but also as a black man. And so I just came out here to win and play the game the right way. But also, I used that platform that I had with the Lakers to affect change in urban America.
Yes, sir.
I built all my businesses in urban America and gave people of color jobs and opportunities. And also, I was just in D.C. this weekend. At a school, gave a block party in inner city of D.C. I was there high-fiving all the kids because that's what Snoop and I and all of us do.
Sir.
So I'm going to still and always will empower those who live in urban America, those people of color, both Latino and black. And yet at the same time, I know what Colin was talking about because I lived it.
Yes, sir.
And I fight against that every single day.
I can attest to that personally, Magic, because when I first came into the hip-hop game, I still was living the criminal lifestyle. I still had one foot in. So it was certain things that I was dealing with that is directly with the police, directly with the law enforcement. So for me to find a way to get into the rap game, to find a way to do things with my life and then make a great change with using my platform to go back and create a football league, to go back and to help people in the community by giving jobs and taking some of the homies that get out of the penitentiary that'll never get a job, get them off of parole, teach them how to be strong men on the streets and survive. These are the things that I use on my platform, learning how to be a man and maneuver the system and not fight the system, because the system was not designed for us.
Right.
So my advice is just to keep fighting your fight, Colin. We fighting with you.
That's right.
And somehow, some way it's going to come through.
Amen. Amen. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Oh, you know, I am fully aware that the jersey of Kobe Bryant, the great Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest players in NBA history, his jersey will be retired on December 18th. Needless to say, Lord willing, I will be there to honor this man and the great contribution that he made to the game of basketball. He deserves our reverence, our respect, not just as a great basketball player, but somebody who was committed to being great. It wasn't just about the money. He wanted it bad. He wanted greatness bad, and he got it. 5-time champion. Believe it or not, both of his numbers will be retired, according to ESPN's very own Ramona Shelburne, who always does an outstanding job based out of here in Los Angeles, said both jerseys will be retired. The reason why, because Kobe got 5 titles. Got to remember something. Kobe got 5 titles, okay? He absolutely did have 5 titles. But what you also have to keep in mind is that they were split. 2 was with one jersey, 3 was with the other. I think 3 was with his number 8 when he had Shaq in the crew, and 2 was when he was 24. When he had Gasol and Bynum and Derek Fisher and all of those guys. He deserves it. No qualms about it. He's fantastic. He's Kobe. And I can't wait to see him honored as he will so richly deserve to have happened. Back to the phones we go before we get on out of here. Let's go to Charlie in Virginia. Real quick, Charlie, you're live with Stephen A.
Stephen A., thanks for calling. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you. Go ahead.
All right. Seeing how you have the inside scoop with the Steelers, and the questions being the defense with the Saints and the offensive line with the Giants, why can't – is it because there aren't any corners or DBs available?
Well, you got to remember. You got to remember. You got to remember. The Steelers lucked up. The Steelers lucked up by getting Joe Hayden.
Well, isn't he kind of a bum wheel? Didn't he have some issues with health and injuries?
Well, he did have some issues with health, but he said that he was 100% healthy. The reason why he was let go by the Browns because he was going to cost too much money.
I was just scared that he didn't want to hurt feelings with the guys that Cowher pretty much had there as far as Gay, and
no,
he didn't.
Oh, please. Cockrell and those boys, they need to be. Only person I liked really was Artie Burns. And Joe Hayden, and let's see what else those guys do. They got to get at the quarterback, too. But we shall see. But let's talk tomorrow when we've got more time about that. But I appreciate the call. Thank you. Fred in Detroit, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, man?
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing all right. Go ahead real quick, buddy.
What you feel about the Lions? How you think they're going to do this year?
Listen. I had to apologize to them yesterday because I was calling them out after Matthew Stafford threw that pick 6. I'm like, I don't want to see that from the highest paid player in NFL history. I don't want to hear that. And then he comes back out and he throws 4 touchdowns and handles his business against Arizona. It's going to be interesting. The NFC North suddenly is interesting because I'm looking at Minnesota and Detroit a little bit differently than I was looking at them before this weekend. So what was once perceived as a lock for Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, now if they could get very interesting. Minnesota, Sam Bradford continue to play this way. Minnesota can win this division with that defense. And this kid, Dalvin Cook, can flat out ball. And then you got Detroit with Matthew Stafford trying to prove some things. So I think that Matthew Stafford, I think that the Lions, whether it's the Green Bay or Minnesota, will lose the division. But I definitely could see them battling for a wild card spot. Let's go to Marty in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Marty Moore?
What's up, dog? How you doing, man?
I'm going ahead, buddy. Real quick. Go ahead.
Dodgers, complacent. What would you like to say to Dave Roberts? He's taking suggestions, by the way.
I definitely think, listen, I don't think it's complacency. I think it's fatigue. I think the Dodgers are a bit tired. I think they've been absolutely abysmal, which we all know. It's a damn shame how bad they've been. This does not look good. They've lost 16 of their last 17 at least. I mean, it's not fun to watch. It's not one to watch. There's no question about it. But the flip side to it is that, listen, they still going to win the division. Even though Arizona went from being 21.5 games back to just 9, they're still going to win the division. They're still going to go into the postseason. The Cubs, the Nationals, and especially the Diamondbacks are somebody that you need to watch out for. But I wouldn't sit up there and cancel the season on them yet. They still got Kershaw, man. And they got a lineup that can put some runs up. Okay, so let's see what happens.
You got it, man.
Take it easy. Let's go to Jordan in Washington. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Jordan, go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. Just want to wish a congratulations to Kobe Bryant. As wasn't my favorite player, but he worked really, really hard, and I'm happy that he put both his.
He didn't have to be one of your favorites, but you can't dispute the fact that he's one of the greatest ever, right?
Oh, he is. He passed
okay.
I am the biggest Jordan fanatic you're gonna ever meet in your life, man. I mean, I'm Jordan everything. I can't say who I work for because I can get fired for that, but I am a big Jordan fanatic.
Okay.
But all in all, he was great. And matter of fact, I'm purchasing one of the shoes this week that he did with Kyrie.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I need you to get to your point because we don't have all day. We get ready to end the show, bro. Get to your point.
I know, brother. I know. All in all, great football weekend. I just want to say my Bears held their own. Was able to stay within 7, so I'm very proud of them. That's a plus for us because we don't have a great team right now. So for them to keep them at 24, for us to be within 7, that's a win-win for me. I accept that. And then I have something else to say about Seahawks, but you don't have enough time, so we'll catch up on another time.
We're going to have to catch up another time.
Thanks for taking my call, brother.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the call. I don't know why people believe in the Bears. First of all, John Fox will be gone after this year. Secondly, Trubisky, put him in, let him be the quarterback. Y'all ain't winning no games. I don't care what nobody say. Chicago had a chance to win it, but they'll find a way to lose because they're Chicago. So what they are. They're coming in last place within the NFC North. You can book that. Don't even doubt it. Don't even think for 1 second if you're Chicago that you're gonna do something other than finishing last place in the NFC North. That's my personal belief. Anyway, again, congratulations to Kobe Bryant, who's gonna have his number retired December 18th. He absolutely positively deserves it. We'll continue with our NFL talk. Thanks again to Louis Riddick for coming on as a guest as well. This is Stephen A. Smith signing off until 22 hours from now. I'll be back. Until then, peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.